We're on now. Okay. Ekta is with us today.
Hi,
Yes.
Lovika. Happy Diwali. Happy New Year.
Happy Diwali, Happy New Year, and good to see you.
Yes, I've been meaning to make it. I'm so glad I made it.
I've missed you. I haven't seen you. It feels like I haven't seen you for a very long while.
Yeah, yeah.
You were in Vipassana for such a long time.
Yes, yes. I missed the rest of the days of the Navratri,
Hmm.
but I'm going to be. I used a couple of the recordings. I have to finish the rest of them.
That's okay. You've got them anyway.
Mhm.
Anyway, we shall begin. And Hari Om Tat Sat. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
We will proceed with our meditations now in mantra, purely in mantra. So we will prepare ourselves for meditation, sitting comfortably, meditative posture of your choice, sitting cross legged or comfortably on the floor, or on a chair with your feet firmly planted on the ground. Spine straight but not rigid, shoulders relaxed, face soft, smile in your heart so it shows up as a gentle, soft smile on your face. Palms resting comfortably on your knees or in a mudra of your choice. We'll begin by taking 3 deep centering breaths, inhaling positivity, happiness, and joy from your surroundings. And as you exhale, giving out, expressing joy and happiness into the surroundings, the people around you, those of us meditating with you. 2 more times. Inhaling happiness, happy thoughts, exhaling happy thoughts. Before we begin our meditation, let's ask ourselves a few questions, soul questions. Who am I? Who am I? You may not know the answer immediately, may sound cryptic, but this is a good time to begin this dialogue with yourself. What do I want? What do I really, really want? What do I desire? Allow the answers to truthfully and honestly surface. They might be materialistic, physical wants and desires, emotional, financial, spiritual, whatever it is, just allow them to come up. What do I want? What is my purpose in this lifetime? What am I here for? How can I help? How can I serve? What am I grateful for today? In this moment, what am I really thankful for? taking a deep breath in. As you exhale, feel the questions and these answers lift off you as if on a cloud, floating away into the universe, who'll take care of the details for you. Now, very gently introduce your mantra. If you're initiated with your Guru mantra, bring to mind your Guru mantra. If you're not initiated, bring to mind So Hum. So Hum. So Hum. Keep repeating it mentally, silently, as if someone's whispering it to you. So Hum or your Guru mantra. If you find yourself getting distracted or chasing any experience that you think meditation should be like, the moment you realize you're doing that, gently bring your attention back to your mantra. Remember to just gently introduce your mantra. It's just a thought, easy and effortless. Continue meditating with your mantra. I'll watch the time and let you know when to come out of your meditation. Now stop thinking your mantra and sit comfortably with your eyes closed for a few moments. Become aware of your surroundings, where you're seated for your meditation. Very gently start moving your fingers, your toes, your head, neck, shoulders. Bring your palms to heart center. Rub your palms together. And when they're nice and warm, place them on your eyes and across your face, looking into your palms as you very gently open your eyes. Welcome back. It rained on the day of Diwali here, so you'll still hear leftover fireworks and crackers because people didn't get an opportunity to burst them on the first day. So you'll still hear them, and then I get to see my dog running around because she doesn't like those fireworks that much, right? Anyway, okay, Erin, thank you. I'll see you soon. Bye bye. Have a good day. Have a lovely rest of the day. Okay. So we spoke yesterday about Govardhan Puja. I didn't send you that link, Divya, but were you able to check on that? Govardhan Puja, did you check anything?
Yeah, I was just researching to see if South also celebrates it or if it's like my family alone that does not. But I
Mm,
think in general in Tamil Nadu or at least the place that I'm from,
mm,
it's we don't celebrate it in that way. So I mean,
mm.
from what I spoke to people, it seems like a North Indian thing. So
It might be because it has got more to do with Lord Krishna.
yeah,
So, the celebration might be more prevalent where Krishna is revered and worshipped. In the south, we've got many other Vaishnavite traditions,
yeah.
right? So
We do
that's also there.
celebrate Krishna also, but
Yes,
maybe
yes.
not during
Maybe
Diwali.
not during the Diwali time. Yes.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So the thing is that the reason why all of these festivals also come in because it is celebrated over 5 days. The main day being with Lakshmi Puja, but then all these other festivals or all these other traditions that are also celebrated because the stories interweave, the stories are linked with each other, and those stories are stories of significance when it comes to the evolution of consciousness, which is the purpose of why Parvati incarnates or reincarnates every time there is adharma in the world. So all of these put together are those 5 days. The fifth day that is celebrated is also known as Balipadyami. So it's also celebrated as Bhai Dooj in many places, and it's either one or the other. They also do Tulsi Puja or Tulsi Vivah at that time. That is the puja of the Tulsi plant or the marriage, celebrating her marriage. So there are all these different traditions that are all across, all over India and the subcontinent in wherever the Hindu festivals are celebrated. They have their own way, their own translation of it, and the purpose is that one of the reasons why these traditions have filtered down to be so diverse is that in Hinduism there is the freedom to choose your deity. There is the freedom to choose your tradition because at the end of the day Of course, there are some very dogmatic, groups who would say, no, it has to be done only this way. But the beauty of Hinduism is that it allows the devotee to worship who they choose to worship and how. So it builds on that connection of building bhakti, of building that connection with the divine. So any ritual, it can be simplified to the most simplest of forms, or it can be the most elaborate, but what it requires more than anything is the shraddha and the bhakti of the devotee, and then it just transforms the entire experience. So let's see what Balipadyami is first all about. It's a very interesting one. It has got a lot to do with Lord Vishnu. Okay. Now, Vishnu had many incarnations, many reincarnations. He incarnated as many different forms. But this comes to a time when there was this very staunch, very ardent devotee of Lord Vishnu, and his name was Prahlad. Okay, and he was such a strong devotee, such a solid devotee, that he had so many different obstacles, but he didn't let go of his devotion to Vishnu. So what happened was Vishnu uh, came as that avatar of half man, half lion, where he's known as Narasimha. Nara meaning man or person. Simha refers to lion. So Narasimha came, he came as Narasimha to Prahlad, and he said that I'll protect you. And he made, I'm giving an abridged version because I want to give the other Bollywood story of Bhai Dooj as well later. So he comes there and he says that I will protect you for 7 lifetimes. Okay, for 7 lifetimes I'll be there, and I've just made a quick note of some of the key pointers of what happens. Okay, so he says that I'm going to take care of you, and 7 generations, not 7 lifetimes, 7 generations of your children, or of your lineage will be protected by me. Nothing will happen. So somewhere down the line, Prahlad has a son whose name. This is when Prahlad becomes king. Then, okay, and he's got a son whose name is Virochana. Okay, now what Virochana does is that. Uh, he's got a couple of kids, but one of those kids in particular is his name is Bali. Okay, Bali. And then he's also known as Mahabali. Maha meaning the great Bali. Okay. Now he was such a righteous king, such a wise and just and righteous king, that he did everything to eradicate poverty. There was no poverty. So because there was no poverty and everyone had an abundance of whatever they require, there was no theft, there were no crimes. It was like the golden age for that thing. Everything was going perfect. Okay, now when everything goes perfect and there is no scope for anything wrong to happen, which means that there is no role for the smaller gods or the devtas who sit. Okay, I'm sorry. How much did we miss? Did I get muted
Got
for?
off at the smaller god. There's no roles for the small.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Okay. So yeah, so all of them got a bit jealous, and they said that so if this man, right, if this human, if this king does all of these things where gods are not required, right, then one day he'll come up and he'll get elevated and he'll depose Lord Indra, and he'll be our god, right, or he'll be our lord, and he'll be the leader of all, and we can't let that happen. So they went to the sustainer of all of creation. They went to Lord Vishnu, and they said, Vishnu, you've got to do something. You've got to intervene here because something's not right. This guy is doing everything the right way. Okay, so we have to do something. Now, Vishnu had already given him his word. Right? He'd already told him that, well, 7 generations, I'll take care of you. But he said, okay, well, let's see. He's been such a solid devotee. Let's see what he do. So, in the meanwhile, what had happened was Mahabali was preparing to perform a particular yajna or a ritual. Okay, it was a big ritual that he was doing, and the name of that ritual is the Vishwajit. Yes, the Vishwajit yajna. In that particular yajna, when he's doing that, if anyone approaches him to ask for anything, he has to give it. Okay, he has to give whoever comes in and whoever asks for anything. Now, in the meanwhile, Vishnu, upon listening to all of these things by the other devas, said, "Okay, I'll go there and I'll see what I can do about it." And he takes on the form or the avatar of a tiny little man, okay, or a tiny little boy. Uh, in some places, he's called as a little boy, in some places like a short man. But he takes on this form which is known as Vamana. Okay, and Vamana, because it's Vishnu, he comes walking towards Mahabali's palace or whatever. He's coming over to his place, and he comes with the purpose of asking for something. And now, because he is an incarnation of the divine, he is described in the scriptures or in the Puranas as having, as glowing with tejas. Okay, he's shining. He's a shining, bonny child, as they say. And Mahabali sees him from a distance and says, "What? What a luminous child! Who is this?" And this person is coming towards me. And then he says, "Whatever this person asks, whatever he asks me, I'm going to give it." So he comes like this little, like a little, little brahmana, holding his little water kamandala, and he's just coming in there. And Mahabali asks him, "What do you want? What can I give you?" And he says, I just want a little bit of land. Okay, I want a little bit of land. And the king says, "Of course, I'll give you some land." He's like, "Yeah, I just want land as much as my 3 footsteps can cover." Okay. And the king laughs a little bit, and he's like, "I've got so much of everything. Okay, I've got so much. As much as you can see, it's all of mine. And you're asking me for 3 small footsteps. So, what gives? I can give you so much more." And the child looks at him and says that, you know, if a person is not satisfied with having just 3 footsteps of space around him, then he'll never be content with anything. Okay. And that's something very deep and profound for a child to say. So Mahabali listens and he's like, "I'll give you." But at that time, his guru was sitting behind him. And his guru sensed that there was something strange about this child. And Shukracharya was his name. And he pulls Mahabali aside and says, "Listen, just don't do anything dumb right now. Don't agree to anything, okay? Because I have a feeling this might be Lord Vishnu who's come to trick you with something, but don't just agree to anything." And he tells his guru, "No, I'm doing this yajna. First of all, I am a Vishnu Bhakt. Okay, and I will do anything for him. If it is Lord Vishnu, then I will definitely give him whatever it is that he wants, you know. And if it isn't, I'm still doing the yajna. So this boy has asked me for something, and I'm giving, and I've already given him my word. So I'll have to do that." So the guru gets very angry, because you see, the culture in itself is one where you take the word of your guru, you listen to your guru. Okay. And the guru goes off in a huff, and he's like, "What's the point in me being a guru? What's the point in me being here to tell you anything when I'm clearly telling you that this is not, to be taken at face value?" And the guru walks away from him. He's like, "You don't need me, and I'm gone." Okay. And Mahabali says it's okay, and he tells the boy, "Okay, what do you want?" Now, while he is taking it in as part of the yajna, as part of like sealing the deal, he has to pour a little bit of water into the little vessel of water that the boy is carrying. It's something to do with the tradition. And the boy says, "Okay, I'll take my first step." Okay. So, with the first step, he starts growing into this huge being, and the first step covers the entire earth, all the lands. It covers the entire earth. Okay. And Mahabali seeing this, and he's just watching, and he's like, okay, one step takes it there. So he's like, okay, this is my first step. So it's covered all of land and earth, everything. So now we don't know what else Mahabali is going to give him anyway. But he's still got two steps there. And he puts his second step, which goes all the way up to the heavens, okay, to Swarga. Swarga is heaven in a way. It's like one of the portals or one of the levels of heaven. And there are many, many levels of heaven, okay? Uh, and when he goes there, Brahma, who's in the heavens, sees that Vishnu, because he recognizes that Vamana is Vishnu, and he comes here, that Vishnu is coming up, and Brahma bows down to him, saying that, oh, Vishnu has come here up to the heavens. And as he bows down, he offers him the water from the Ganges or from the Ganga, okay, which then mixes with the water that down on earth Mahabali is pouring into this little boy's vessel. So that now becomes an auspicious bond of what needs to be done. So now one foot in the heavens, one all across the earth, and the boy says, I've got one more. And by now he's this huge, huge being. From one tiny little, 6, 7 year old child, he's now a huge, huge being. And he says, so now where do I place my third foot? Where do I place my third foot? And Mahabali, in all the devotion that he could give to Lord Vishnu, says, there's no other place. You've taken everything, place it on my head. Okay. And Lord Vishnu, Vamana, accepts that as a sign of humility and places his head on his foot. And he pushes him down into the earth without pain. Okay. I mean, I think without pain. Okay. Pushes him down into a lower level of it's not hell, and because it's a really good place, it's called Sutala, not Patal. Many people think that Patal is hell, but and I don't know all the details of why Patal is not hell, but many of my teachers have said that, like, as there are as many heavens above us and different levels and different types of heavens that we experience, there are that many different levels of below the earth, below where we exist, below where we live, but they have untold pleasures and riches and good things that will give you a different degree of enjoying in a good way. Okay. So he does that. And what Vamana tells Mahabali is that your humility and your integrity has won me over. Your bhakti also has won me over. And for that, okay, I will give you the boon of living in this sutal for the rest of this entire cycle of this life and death that we have. Okay. And the next manvantara, it is called, the next cycle of the earth's creation and all of that, you will then become Indra. In other words, you will be that state of enlightened mind, not in the process, because you have already completed the process now. Okay. So, what's the significance of this day? The significance of this day, again, is speaking about consciousness. But in this particular one, it speaks about the elevation of consciousness. And one very important factor that those of you who've been for the Navratri sadhana would also know, it's a recurring theme when it comes to the consciousness and conversations on the consciousness. It is the aspect of surrendering, that you surrender. You don't restrict, you don't hold things, that he surrendered to the divine over and beyond his guru, his human form guru who was with him. Over and beyond his devotion went there. Okay. And devotion is a very important part, a very important element for a sadhaka, that is for any of us. So we need to be devoted, we need to have that sense of unflinching devotion to our practice, to where we are headed, right? And even though it's blurred, but just having that faith usually cushions us from it, cushions us from the troubles that we go through. And those troubles are important because they will, in a way, temper us. Okay. So that is why Balipadyami, Bali is his name, Pada is your foot. Okay. Balipadyami is the name of the festival, or it's or the occasion that is celebrated. This is one of the, it's one is Balipadyami. And the other one, a very quick one. I'll give a very quick abridged version of it because it's got a little bit of, he, ha, ha into it. So that is the celebration of the relationship between the brother and a sister. Now, I don't really know. I didn't actually question my teacher when she was telling us about Bhai Dooj. That is what this part is, and to try and figure out why is it being added here. And I just figured out that it might be that there are so many different traditions and so many different festivals and cultural celebrations all over the country that we anyway have 5 days, that if we don't do this, we might as well add this. So there is something to add in those 5 days that you can celebrate. But I'll still find out more. I have another thought about it also, but when you listen to the story, you'll be. So there was a time when there were a brother and a sister. The sister was older, the brother was younger. And she was married off, and she went to a different village somewhere after she got married, and she was much older than the boy. So as the boy grew older, he didn't see much of his sister. And then there was this celebration like Raksha Bandhan, where the sisters would come over and they would tie rakhi or whatever, or they would wish their brothers, and they would pray, do an arti and maybe get some gift, and it was always to have that bond. And this brother, this boy, asks his parents one day and says, "You say I have a sister, but where is she? How come she doesn't come to do anything for me?" And they tell him that, well, your sister stays across the river, and it's very dangerous to cross that river. So, she won't be able to come here, and that's why she doesn't come here. And the boy says, no, I have to do this. I want this. So he says, okay, if she won't come to me, then I will go to her. Okay, I will go to her. And the mother says, don't, it's very dangerous. There's a forest there, there's the river, you shouldn't go there. And he says, no, I want to go. I need to have this relation, I need to have this tradition or whatever it is. And he says, okay. So the mother says, okay, if that's the case, if you're going there, then tell your sister that I want her to come here, come back with you, so that she can help me find you a bride. And the boy says, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. Okay. So when he goes there, he goes to the forest, and so the thing with the river is that the river rises very high and it can be very dangerous to cross. Okay. But before he gets to the river, as he comes through, he comes across a tiger. Okay. And the tiger threatens to eat him or whatever. And he says, listen, I really want to go and meet my sister. And I promise I'll just be there for a few days and I'll come back. And on my way back, you can eat me. So the tiger says, okay, fine, go. And then he comes across a snake. The snake also says, I want to sting you. I want to bite you. I don't know what kind of a snake it was. But he makes the same deal with the snake, saying that I'm going there. I'm meeting my sister. I haven't seen her. I'll come back. Then you can do what you want. And the snake says, okay, he seems authentic enough, and maybe he'll come back. Okay. So the snake also lets him go. Then he passes through the mountains, and the mountains were pelting stones. And they said that we'll pelt stones on you. And this, and he told the mountains, please just let me pass. And then, he makes a similar deal with them. When he reaches the river, he does the same thing. The river says, you can't go. He says, please let me pass. I'll come back. When I come back, you can, do what you want. So he goes there. He crosses the river, allows him to cross. He goes over, he meets his sister. They're so happy. He spends a few days. Everyone's happy that the boy has come to meet his sister. They're having good food and all of that. And when it's time for him to go back, he tells his sister, you have to come with me. And because our mother says that you need to come and help look for a bride for me. But I want to tell you right now, by the time we cross and we reach home, I don't think there'll be any need for a bride because I won't be alive. Okay. So she says, okay, don't worry about that. I'll come with you and I'll take care of it. So what she does is that she prepares, and she gets some flowers and some milk and uh, some meat and all of that, and she cooks all of that as she goes. And when they get to the river, so that's the river is the first thing that they get to, and she offers a prayer to the river and says, she offers prayer. There's some rice that she gets, and that rice is what is offered to the river as an offering. Okay. And the river is pleased with her offering, and she says, okay, you can pass by the river. When she goes by the river, the tiger comes back. He's like, oh, you're here. And then she offers him the meat and says that, no, listen, you can have the meat, you can have your fill. And the tiger has his fill, moves on, and he says, okay, I don't need to eat your brother. She offers the milk to the snake, and to the mountain she offers the flowers and a prayer and the puja rituals, whatever. And the mountain says, okay, since you guys seem to be so, such a loving brother and sister duo, I'll let you go. So they're happy and they're moving on. But just as they come to reach the village, there's an old lady, or I don't know, could be a witch, comes by and says, takes the sister aside because they're resting, they're tired with all the activity, with all the forces of nature. And she comes and says, listen, the story, the drama is not over yet, and the danger is not over yet. When you go to the village, right, you will need to act really, really nasty. You'll have to curse your brother non-stop until you reach the village. And once you reach the village, once you reach the village, and once you're there, you have to keep being very, very mean and nasty to him, and until the wedding is done, and only then will, otherwise he'll die, otherwise his life is going to be in danger. I don't know what the big deal was in that, but it happened. Okay, so she says, okay, I'll do what you need to. So by the time they reach the village, all of a sudden this sweet and lovely loving sister of this boy starts cursing him and being like this nasty hormonal woman, whatever, I don't know, it just goes on and on screaming and doing all of these things. And everyone in the village starts thinking, who's come back and what's gone wrong with her? And she does this all the time until finally they find a bride, they get them married. Then she starts creating problems for the bridal party. And then at the day before the wedding, when the family comes over, she tells them, you're not allowed to come into the front door, you have to come in through the back door. And they said, but why? She said, no, you have to come in through the back door. And just when she was resting, they say, oh, she's resting. And they come in through the front door, and the door falls on them and crashes. And she goes on, she was the only person who saw that. Heroic strength aside, she lifts everything, she saves them, and the wedding is done. The brother is safe, everyone else is safe. And finally, it's time for her to leave. And when it's time for her to leave, everyone in the village, the family, the brother, the bride, the bride's family, everyone says, good riddance. Thank God she's going. Okay. But when she leaves and she reaches the edge of the village to leave, she turns and tells her mother that this is what happened. Okay, this is what I mean. Some of it can make no sense, but this is what happened. The witch told me that I'm supposed to be nasty so that he'll be saved, and this is what I had to do. I couldn't take the risk of being kind to him because he would have died. And all of a sudden, this real nasty daughter who's being sent back home was hailed as the one who took on all the hardship of taking everyone's curses, of everyone's ill will and everything, just so that she could save her brother. And from that day onwards, they continued celebrating this bond of brothers and sisters, especially for sisters who've been married and who've moved away to other homes. Now, and that's why it is called Bhai Dooj, where the brother also vows to protect his sister at all times, and the relationship is maintained for whatever purpose. So the relationship between brother and sister in a lot of Indian society or even in South Asian societies is very strong. It's usually considered very special, even though I think my son is sitting there and making faces. Um, but uh, but but it is. So that is one of the folk stories. But the way I understood it also, and without going too further into the drama of it all, is that in most of Indian society, especially in the Hindu culture, daughters or women are considered personification of Ma Lakshmi. So they usually will say that our daughters, when daughters are born, they'll say that the Lakshmi is born in the family. Okay. And Lakshmi around Diwali is the goddess who is revered and worshipped. So I would have thought that in this particular celebration of Bhai Dooj, where the Lakshmi has gone over to become someone else's Lakshmi as a wife, that the welcoming of her, even if it is to, to strengthen the bond between brother and sister, is something that is added into this fifth day to be celebrated. Like I'll say that there is no dearth of festivities and festivals in India, and especially in Hindu culture, you can celebrate anything and everything. Just like how for Govardhan Puja, the mountain also was worshipped just because it existed, and I think with these two stories, the only thing that I can leave you with, apart from, like, oh, seriously, these are the kinds of folk stories that we have, is the point of recognition that humility to humility to allow nature to work with us, humility to allow the divine to work through us. Sometimes it is by having the divine stepping on our head and pushing us down when we feel that, we're supposed to be up there and why should I do this and questioning, but instead surrender to the divine. And on the other front, sometimes just making those decisions because those are the only options that you have when although it was more to do with the brother and the sister, but sometimes we do take on. So instead of choosing ways in which we can feel victimized, and this is not considering toxic relationships at all, because they can be, and that's a completely different conversation, but recognizing that humility is key, that humility is fundamental when it comes to spirituality. There is no spirituality without humility. And humility is something that we need to learn in our own space. This is a very, very personal thing. There is no humility 101 course that anyone can give you and say, hey, these are the things you need to do to start being humble. No, you know what your humility factor is. And I think if there is anything that you need to take away from today, it is surrender to the divine and inculcate humility. So, on that note, Hari Om Tat Sat. Namaste. Any thoughts, any questions? If you have to run, please feel free. If you would like to add a thought, please feel free. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for a few moments if you need to, and then I can. Thank you, Aditi. Yes, Aditi says, thank you for that important reminder. I think we all need those reminders a little, once in a while. Hmm. Ekta, I saw you take a deep breath.
More and more, this is my learning, that surrender to the divine, use silence, and see what opens up. We are so often putting things in our practice, striving, never sitting still, even in our brains, even when our bodies are still. And I find that it has had such a such a different impact for me in the last few months. And every day I need this reminder, right? Like with the and let, we all have it within us. We just need to let it awaken, right? Like on with because how do you get that? It just when right, magic or science or whatever you call it. So I loved today's teaching. Thank you so much. I'm very glad that I could make it.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I'm so glad that you could be here with us for today, Ekta. I really did miss you, because you share openly and deeply, and there's so much of learning for all of us in that as well. At least that definitely is for me. You always leave me thinking about something. So thank you. Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone? Anything that you'd like to share? Aditi had to leave, and that's fine. Um, I'm happy for us to close session as well, if there's nothing else, unless, of course, you just like to hang around and look at me. I mean, if yeah, because that can also be okay. That's also fine. But then I do know that sometimes a thought leads to another, and then I end up talking. So, like Mandy knows, the other day she sat with me for a whole hour after the session. I'm not expecting any of you to sit there with me for an hour. But, uh, right. All right. Okay. So I'll see you all tomorrow. See you. Namaste. Thank you.
See you all tomorrow. Bye,
See you.
Rubina.
Bye, Divya.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you. Bye bye.
Bye.